I never thought I'd be the kind of man who double-checked his wife's location. For 11 years, I trusted her word more than I trusted my own eyes. We had a quiet kind of marriage. Morning coffee together, soft music in the kitchen, little texts during lunch breaks. Nothing dramatic, nothing loud. That's what I loved about it, stability. Or maybe I just mistook silence for peace. Her name's Emily. She's 35, a nurse who used to come home exhausted but smiling. Lately, though, she's been coming home just exhausted, no smile. Her phone, once tossed on the couch, now lived face down beside her. When I'd ask how her day was, she'd shrug and say, busy. It started small. Late shifts, longer commutes, a perfume I didn't recognize. I told myself I was being paranoid, that marriage ebbs and flows, that maybe I was just boring. Still, something in my gut whispered, watch. One night around 11, I called her while she was still at the hospital. It rang 3 times before going to voicemail. 2 minutes later, I saw her location blink off our shared app. The next morning, when I asked about it, she snapped, "You don't need to know where I am every second." The way she said it, sharp, almost rehearsed, made my stomach knot. That sentence wouldn't leave my head. "You don't need to know where I am." It replayed on loop while I stared at her side of the bed, empty and cold long after midnight. Over the next week, I noticed more cracks. She laughed at texts she wouldn't show me. She started working out again, buying new clothes, changing her perfume, details that used to make her happy, now hidden under secrecy. I tried to talk to her on Sunday morning over pancakes like we always did. "Em," I said quietly, "is something going on?" She didn't even look up. "Not everything is about you, Mark." That was the first time she'd ever used my name like a weapon. I decided to stop guessing. I had a friend, Daniel, who worked in IT. He helped me pull the last few weeks of our shared phone records. I wasn't proud of it, but I needed to know if I was crazy. 3 numbers stood out. One belonged to her coworker, Dr. Harris, a name I'd heard often. Another was a new one. No contact name, frequent late-night calls, 10-15 minutes long. The third belonged to Claire, our mutual friend who'd recently gone quiet around me. That night, I didn't confront her. I just observed. She came home, changed clothes, poured herself a glass of wine, and sat across from me, scrolling. Every few seconds, she smiled faintly, at her screen, not me. Something inside me cracked. "Emily," I said, keeping my voice calm. "Where were you last night?" She didn't look up. "At work, till 2 in the morning. Finally, her eyes met mine, flat, defensive. "You don't need to know where I am, Mark." The same words again. This time louder, sharper, deliberate. I stared at her for a moment, then took a deep breath. My heart wasn't racing anymore. It was quiet. I said 2 names. "Daniel, Claire." She froze mid-sip. The color drained from her face. For a second, neither of us spoke. The clock ticked loud enough to fill the silence. Then I stood, walked to the table, and set down a plain white envelope. She blinked. "What's that?" "Everything you thought I'd never see," I said. Her hand trembled as she reached for it. She didn't open it, just stared at her reflection in the glass window behind me. "I didn't do anything wrong," she whispered. "Then open it," I replied. She didn't. Instead, she looked at me with a kind of fear I'd never seen before. Not the fear of being caught, but the fear of being known. That's when I realized something important. Truth doesn't always break people. Sometimes it just shows who they already were. Emily didn't say a word for a long time. The clock ticked. The streetlight outside hummed, and all I could hear was her uneven breathing. Finally, she whispered, "You went through my phone?" I shook my head. "No, I didn't need to." "You went through my trust." She flinched like I'd hit her. For a second, her eyes softened. Guilt, maybe. But then she straightened her shoulders and crossed her arms, trying to rebuild the distance between us. "You're being dramatic. Daniel's your friend. Claire's my friend. You're connecting dots that don't exist." I smiled, tired but steady. "Maybe, but dots only connect when there's a pattern, Em." She opened the envelope. Inside were printed call logs, screenshots, and one photo Daniel had sent me, taken at a small diner about 20 minutes from the hospital. There she was, sitting across from the same man whose number I didn't recognize, their hands almost touching, her smile soft and private. She stared at the paper, her face frozen in something between shame and anger. "It's not what it looks like," she muttered. "Then tell me what it is." Silence again. This time longer, heavier. When she finally spoke, her voice cracked. He listens, Mark, that's all. He listens. The words hit harder than if she'd said she cheated, because that meant she'd found something in someone else I stopped giving her. Attention. I used to listen, I said quietly. You used to, she echoed. Her eyes were glassy, her fingers clutching the papers like they might burn her. Then you stopped. Everything became about work, bills, routines. You were here, but not really here, I wanted to argue. I wanted to remind her of the nights I cooked when she was late, the times I stayed awake just to hear the sound of her car pulling in, the vacations I tried to plan that she canceled last minute. But none of that mattered. We'd both stopped listening, me out of fatigue, her out of disappointment. Still, betrayal has a way of sharpening every dull truth. So, you found someone who listens? I asked. She looked away. It wasn't supposed to happen. I believe you, I said. And I did. People rarely plan the moment they decide to leave emotionally. It just happens quietly over time while they're still pretending to stay. I didn't sleep with him, she added quickly. I didn't ask. Her lip quivered. So what happens now? I walked to the counter, took another envelope, and handed it to her. This one thinner, 2 keys, a credit card, and a letter. I froze the joint accounts this morning, I said calmly. Your new card's yours alone. The apartment lease is in your name now. I'll be staying at Daniel's place for a while. Her eyes widened. You're leaving? I'm listening, I said simply. To what you've already been saying for months. She tried to reach for my hand, but I stepped back. Not in anger, just in clarity. Mark, please don't do this, she whispered. We can fix it. Maybe, I said. But not while one of us is pretending there's nothing to fix. She covered her face with her hands, and for the first time in months, I felt the kind of silence that wasn't heavy. It was freeing. I picked up my bag, walked toward the door, and paused. You once told me love means never needing to hide. Remember that? She nodded slowly, tears streaming down. Then you stopped hiding the moment I stopped asking, I said. And that's how I knew we were done. Outside, the night air was cold, but it didn't sting. I stood by my car for a while, looking back at the window. She was still there, staring at the papers as if they were the pieces of something she didn't know how to put back together. I thought about what she'd said, that he listened. Maybe he did. Maybe he'll listen to the same silence I carried for years. When I drove off, I didn't feel proud or angry or even relieved. I just felt steady. Because sometimes the loudest moment in a relationship isn't a fight. It's the quiet decision to stop explaining yourself to someone who's already decided not to hear you. And as the city lights blurred past, I realized something simple but final. You can love someone deeply, forgive them endlessly, and still walk away without hate. That night, I didn't lose Emily. I just stopped losing myself to keep her.